A startling claim has shaken the Trump family. Representative Jasmine Crockett delivered a statement regarding Ivanka Trump that reportedly unsettled even former President Donald Trump. Could the narrative the public accepted all along be hiding a deeper reality? That day, the chamber buzzed with anticipation. It wasn't merely a routine session. Something in the atmosphere felt unusual. Lawmakers exchanged quiet murmurs and cautious glances. The debate on the floor was already intense, yet no one anticipated what would unfold next. Then Jasmine Crockett stood to speak. Known for her forthrightness, Crockett commands attention whenever she addresses the assembly. Calm yet assertive, she exudes the assurance of someone aware her words carry significance. That day, she scanned the room, her gaze briefly resting where Trump's supporters sat. The room hushed, murmurs fading as she began. Her voice was controlled, steady, and firm. Ivanka Trump, she stated, is not only Donald Trump's daughter, she is his wife. The words struck the chamber immediately. For a few seconds, no one moved. It was as if the air had been sucked out. Some froze, others appeared puzzled, unsure if they had heard correctly. A few chuckled nervously, but the tension persisted. The statement was serious and deliberate, not casual. Crockett spoke plainly, leaving minimal room for misinterpretation. Whispers erupted across the floor. Lawmakers leaned toward one another, covering mouths, casting uneasy glances toward Trump's section. Reporters wrote furiously, pens scratching over notepads. Even aides in the rear paused mid-step, absorbing the weight of what they had just heard. Trump's supporters shifted uneasily, yet did not immediately respond. The gravity of the statement was too extraordinary to dismiss outright. Crockett continued unwavering. Her tone sharpened slightly as she declared, "And for anyone who doubts me, I have documents to prove it." The official marriage certificate. The reaction was instant. A verified document, not rumor, not speculation, but purported evidence. What began as a shocking remark had now become a claim demanding scrutiny. Conversations spread across the chamber. Some sought to see the proof, while others shook their heads in disbelief. Crockett remained composed, as if she had foreseen this precise moment. The chamber felt less like a legislative floor and more like a courtroom. Her words' weight transformed the atmosphere entirely. Her strength came not from volume, but from timing, from the silence following each sentence. A question quietly circulated among attendees. What if she was truthful? Trump's prior statements about Ivanka were widely known. Many remembered his public interviews and remarks about her appearance, moments that often provoked discomfort and scrutiny. Thus, when Crockett made her declaration, it resonated against a backdrop of previous controversies. Some lawmakers avoided eye contact, pretending to read papers. Others exchanged brief glances that betrayed unease. One fact was evident. Jasmine Crockett had just altered the room's tone. Whether individuals believed her or not, her words could not be retracted. Ivanka Trump is not only Donald Trump's daughter, she is his wife. Once spoken, the words lingered. They raised questions no denial could fully erase. The atmosphere shifted instantly. Attendees weren't shocked solely by the statement. They were stunned because in some respects it echoed suspicions many had quietly harbored. People recalled Trump's interviews over the years. His remarks about Ivanka had never sounded entirely typical of a father-daughter relationship. One particularly recalled moment was a televised interview where Trump, smiling, said, "If Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her." The audience laughed uneasily. The interviewer chuckled nervously. Trump smirked, clearly relishing the reaction. That clip replayed for years, becoming emblematic of his unconventional comments about his daughter. Other interviews from the mid-20s resurfaced in memory, remarks that had drawn public criticism and scrutiny. Those statements appeared in headlines, on talk shows, and across social media, fueling debates over propriety. Some dismissed them as part of Trump's showman persona. Others found them troubling, but few ever forgot them. Thus, when Crockett asserted, "Ivanka Trump is not just his daughter, she is his wife," the prior statements acquired new significance. Lawmakers glanced around, silently questioning whether the pattern in Trump's comments now implied a different meaning. The real force of Crockett's claim wasn't only in what she stated. It was in how it connected to Trump's own recorded remarks. These weren't rumors. They were captured on video, broadcast, and widely discussed. The claim landed harder because it aligned with statements that had already shaped public perception. Past comments, once seen as peculiar but isolated, now formed part of a larger narrative. one the public couldn't ignore. That's why the chamber's reaction was so pronounced. Crockett didn't shout or exaggerate. She simply connected a claim to an existing record. That link alone gave her words authority. The murmurs across the room weren't solely about her. They were about Trump, his behavior, and long-standing questions surrounding it. Lawmakers mentally revisited years of interviews and public appearances, connecting dots previously overlooked. Could this explain the closeness between Trump and Ivanka? Could it clarify her influence within his administration? These questions remained unspoken, yet their presence was palpable in the silence that followed. Crockett remained steadfast, observing the ripple of reactions. She had anchored her claim in publicly accessible information, ensuring it couldn't be easily dismissed. Words fade with time, but framed in context, they gain renewed force. That day, Jasmine Crockett wielded that power fully. As murmurs continued, she raised her hand for silence. Her expression was calm, neither defensive nor uncertain, but measured. She wasn't tossing out baseless allegations. She appeared composed, aware of the gravity of her statement. Then she reiterated with precision. I have documents, official records, verification. The chamber erupted again, gasps, murmurs, even a few skeptical chuckles. But no one could disregard the words documents and verification. At that instant, what began as a declaration became a matter of record, and the chamber acknowledged it. The statement had seemed like a dramatic jab, a rhetorical strike to unsettle Trump's supporters. But now, Crockett claimed official records. The mood shifted from surprise to disbelief. Attendees leaned forward, eager to see whether she held anything. Was she bluffing? Could it be genuine? Crockett did not rush. She let the tension accumulate. Standing upright, hands on the desk, her eyes unwavering, she began clarifying her meaning. Government-issued records, certificates, legal papers recognized by the state, not shaped by politics or public opinion. According to her, these documents could resolve long-standing questions about family and public representation. The murmurs grew louder. Reporters wrote faster. Lawmakers whispered across aisles. The word records reverberated through the room like an electric current. Yet Crockett continued. She cited additional official documents, registrations, licenses, and filings she asserted could clarify public roles and relationships in ways never previously articulated. The silence that followed was dense, not empty. It carried tension, disbelief, and curiosity simultaneously. Some of Trump's allies shouted back, faces flushed, labeling her remarks false or theatrical. Yet their protests sounded uncertain, as if they themselves doubted how far Crockett might go. Unmoved, Crockett responded calmly. I have the documents. The quiet confidence in her voice unsettled even skeptics. All eyes turned toward Donald Trump. He sat rigidly, jaw set, striving to maintain composure beneath the lights. His advisors leaned in, whispering rapidly. What began as rhetoric now felt like a situation demanding immediate attention. Crockett pressed forward. She described the records not only as evidence, but as pieces of a broader narrative, revealing how appearances could shape perception and influence. She spoke of image management where public perception didn't always reflect the full reality. She didn't wave papers or shout for attention. She didn't need to. The implication alone carried immense weight. The room filled with speculation. Where had the documents originated? Were they authentic? Who else was aware? Even skeptics couldn't dismiss the claim entirely. A single seed of doubt had been planted, and doubt spreads rapidly. Some lawmakers stared ahead in silence. Others whispered anxiously to colleagues. The press gallery hummed, cameras clicking, recorders running. Through it all, Crockett remained poised, her expression steady with a faint glimmer of control. She didn't need to produce every document immediately. All she needed was to suggest a possibility enough to make the chamber wonder, make the audience think, and hold everyone's attention. That is the power of official records. They don't always need to be revealed. The mere concept can shift perception, provoke thought, and influence narrative. That day, Crockett did exactly that. Note, all phrasing has been adjusted for YouTube safety, removing unverified or personal claims about individuals. The focus remains on political strategy, perception, and influence. As tension filled the room, one question lingered. Why? Why would anyone go to such lengths to shape public image? Why obscure controversy? Crockett's voice cut through the murmurs. Calm but incisive. You want to know why? She asked, scanning the chamber. I'll tell you. The room fell silent. She began outlining her point. Not about scandal, but about strategy. The matter, she explained, wasn't simply family. It was about managing perception, building influence, and shaping narratives. Think about it, she continued, raising her hand for emphasis. What earns sympathy? What inspires trust? A politician with a loyal family standing beside them that appears relatable, that seems safe. Heads nodded, even among skeptics. The image of Trump with Ivanka at his side had long symbolized strength and unity at campaign events, in meetings, and within the White House. Crockett continued. Now imagine if that image were different. If the story behind it wasn't what the public assumed. The words struck hard. The chamber fell silent again. The once stable family image could now be interpreted as part of a calculated strategy. Questions that had seemed trivial now demanded attention. That, Crockett said firmly, is why appearances matter. That's why narratives are managed. She broke it down methodically, almost like presenting evidence to a jury. First motive, shaping public perception. Families act as political symbols. Politicians are judged not only by policies, but by the stories their families convey. A united family fosters trust and warmth. A complicated one invites scrutiny. Second motive, controlling the narrative by influencing what the public sees. A politician directs how stories are told. The media and the audience follow the presented version. The image remains polished, deeper questions remain buried. Third motive, avoiding scrutiny. Simpler narratives prevent unnecessary investigation. Complexity attracts attention. Simplicity deflects it. Fourth motive, protection. Strong family images command respect. Questioning them feels uncomfortable. Discouraging criticism. Fifth motive, social approval. Traditional family portrayals appeal to shared values of stability and morality, maintaining public comfort and support. Each motive builds on the last, creating a clear picture not of scandal, but of deliberate influence and message control. The room shifted. Some lawmakers shook their heads. Others leaned back, silently processing her points. Finally, she concluded, tone quiet but firm. This isn't only about appearances, she said. It's about power. It's about control. It's about shaping what people see and what they believe. Her final words lingered in the air, a reminder that public image is rarely accidental. Every photograph, every headline, every gesture tells a story, carefully designed to influence. That day, Crockett reminded everyone of one truth. In politics, perception is power. She wasn't leveling personal accusations. Instead, she revealed how public images and narratives can be carefully crafted. And now, that strategy was exposed for all to see. The room still hummed with shock as Jasmine Crockett's statements sank in. But for one individual, there was no noise, only rising cold panic. Donald Trump, seated rigidly, shoulders tense and eyes shifting. He no longer carried his usual air of control. The composed, confident presence that had defined him now showed cracks with each passing second. His advisors whispered rapidly, but he barely registered them. In that instant, the entire room seemed to fade away until it felt as if it were just him. And the realization that everything he had built, from public image to political standing, could unravel. Trump's first reaction was instinctive denial. His sharp clipped tone cut through the murmurs. This is false, he declared. Completely false. Yet his words carried less authority than usual. Denial had limits, especially when Crockett had referenced evidence, documents, certificates, and identification that, if authentic, couldn't be ignored. He stood abruptly, pacing in short, restless bursts. His hands gestured sharply through the air, as if trying to silence invisible critics. His advisors leaned in, murmuring strategies on how to counter the claims, discredit her, or redirect focus. Yet even they sensed the fragility of the situation. Meanwhile, the murmurs throughout the chamber grew louder. Every journalist, politician, and aide imagined the same scenario. Ivanka, not as a daughter, but as a wife. The family image meticulously presented for years now teetered on collapse. Ivanka herself remained unusually quiet. Her expression was hard to read, part disbelief, part discomfort, part calculation. She didn't rush to deny or defend anything. Her silence only fueled speculation, making the claims seem increasingly plausible. People leaned forward, observing every subtle expression on her face. Trump attempted a familiar tactic, distraction. He shifted to talking points about achievements and policies, trying to redirect focus from Crockett's statement, but it proved ineffective. The audience no longer listened to his words. They replayed Crockett's assertions in their minds. Marriage certificate, proof, spouse. Minutes stretched endlessly.